been a great role model to other students since you've been in this program, and you didn't necessarily have to be that kind of person, because a lot of the older students that we get typically do everything in their power to kind of separate themselves from the younger students. But you didn't do that. Like, you really embraced everybody. You reached out to people when we couldn't get in touch with them. And, overall, out of every, student that we work with this semester, my concern was focused on you a lot, bro, because I knew that, you had some, I don't want to say hang-ups, but just being older is tough. It's tough being in a program as an older student with younger people. And the way that you carried yourself has been absolutely amazing, right? So I'm not going to play no tricks with you, man. You're a grown man. And not only you're a grown man, but you're now a grown man high school graduate, bro. Congratulations, man. You passed all 5 sections. You passed all 5 sections. You are now a high school graduate, bro. You did it, man. We are so proud of you, brother. So proud, man. Absolutely amazing what you pulled off, man. Excellent, man.
Yeah, let it out.
You did it, bro.
We are so
proud of you. It's just us in here, man. Just let it all out, bro. But you killed it, man. First try, bro. First try. You knocked it out the park, bro.
I don't know what to say.
Say anything, man. You did it, bro. Your passing says everything that you need to say. You don't need to say anything, man. You did it. You did it, bro.
I'm gonna be so proud, bro. I'm the second in my family to have it.
And you did it the first try in the middle of a pandemic.
The video that you just saw is a representation of really what my program is all about. Giving students an opportunity to have a second chance to earn their education and then move on to future goals is my greatest priority in life. The learning theories that I have picked up in EDTC 618 will stick with me for the rest of my teaching career. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to show some of the things that I have learned in this class and how I will apply it to what I'm doing in my classrooms in the future. Some of the things that I have picked up while in Professor Bahna's class were things that I was already doing that I didn't even realize that there was a theory attached to it. Let's take a look at behavioralism. Behavioralism speaks to reinforcement versus punishment and operant conditioning. It gives me, as a teacher, ways to nullify or increase certain behaviors. I feel like this is the basis of what really works in our program at New Jersey Youth Corps. We only have 16 weeks per cohort to help students earn their high school diploma. So there's not a lot of wiggle room there. By looking and using components of the behavioralism theory, such as reinforcements and punishment, it holds our students accountable. Things such as attendance and classroom participation and autonomous working are crucial for a student's success in New Jersey Youth Corps. The reinforcers that we use helps our students to build and gain the confidence that they need in order to be able to tackle the TASC exam that helps them to earn their high school diploma. The punishments will let our students know that there is accountability, not just in our program, but in life. Every 2 weeks, we have what is called our evaluation process, where students will be able to sit down with staff and find out things that they're doing correct and then things that they can improve on. So behavioralism as a theory has been great with operant conditioning in terms of increasing or decreasing certain behaviors that we see. After all, we want our students to be successful. Accountability is one of the first pieces of being successful. Not pointing the fingers at others, but holding yourself accountable for the work and for the goals that you want to see. Next up, I took pieces from the social cognitive theory. It is very important that I, as the teacher, model the behaviors that I want to see in my students. SCT focuses on learning through observation. So if my students constantly see me fiddling around with my phone, then they are more apt to do the same thing. So from day one, I tell my students, you're not going to see me on my phone, so I would expect the same respect. Generally, it works out that way because I'm not being a hypocrite. Social cognitive theory also preaches self-efficacy. As an instructor, I have to constantly be willing to upgrade my skills. I feel that we also have to acknowledge as teachers that sometimes we make mistakes, and we have to make those adjustments in order to reach our students in the most efficient and effective way possible. So self-efficacy will always have me trying to improve on certain skills just to benefit my student. Self-efficacy is the reason why I wanted to go back to school so bad. Here in this educational technology graduate studies program, I'm learning about apps that are effectively helping me to transform my classroom, such as Flipgrid, where I can actually get a chance to know my students and have them talk to me in a less intimidating way. This class has also taught me many different learning theories. I'm here because I want to be. So that also taps into the intrinsic motivation that is guiding me throughout this semester and the semesters to follow. I want my students to see the passion that I bring to the table as a teacher, because then they have no doubt about those 3 C's: the care, the concern, and then of course, if I care and concern, it leads to a connection with my students. I want to make sure that I double down on self-efficacy so my students can see the confidence that I have and they can feed off of it. You want your students to feel you, not just hear you. There's a rapper named Jadakiss, and he had a quote in one of his songs that said, "Yeah, I hear you, but I still don't feel you." As an instructor, I never want to turn into Charlie Brown's teacher, where I'm talking and there's audio there, but the students hear it as a language that they can't connect with, or they're just totally turned off. I want my students to not only hear what I'm saying, but feel what I'm saying. Once a student knows that you care for them and that you're concerned about them, then that is the way that we can connect with them. And when we can connect with our students, they can learn nearly anything. Another theory that I learned that I wanted to add to my personal theory was cognitive information processing. Cognitive information processing speaks to the way that we remember things, short-term and long-term. In terms of cognitive information processing, we have to be very careful not to cognitively overload our students with too much information. So what I like to do is break things down into parts. For instance, instead of making my students write a 5-paragraph essay all in one shot, I like to start off by having them write the first paragraph, because as we know, the structure of a 5-paragraph essay is pretty much formulated through that first paragraph. So from that first paragraph, once they complete that, then I can work with them in creation of the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th paragraph, and it seems less intimidating because I was able to break it up into pieces. So not cognitively overloading my students is a very important process in making sure that they're getting the information that they need to get and that they keep the information that they're receiving. Encoding, storage, and retrieval. So making sure that our students are getting just enough so that they're able to retrieve the information when necessary. Making sure that I provide background information on why the particular topic that I'm going to cover is relevant to them is also equally important. For instance, if I'm introducing the topic of politics, I have to let them know how local politicians in their community could actually help or even hurt their living environments and situations. So I'm taking a piece of history that, for the most part, some of my students have shunned, and I'm attaching it to something that's actually relevant, their community, their neighborhoods. And I'm showing them how the connection of politics and improving their neighborhood are linked together. You look outside and you see all the potholes in the road. Maybe your mom's car got damaged by one of these potholes. How could you have that fixed? How could you have that pothole covering become a priority in your neighborhood? Well, you have to know how to petition your government. And then from there, the conversation starts. So initially, the student might not have been interested in politics because they didn't know how politics connects to their everyday lives. But once you introduce that background information and a student can connect it to prior schemas, now you have an extra motivated student that wants to learn about a topic they were previously disinterested in. One of my favorite learning theories that I learned about this past semester was constructivism. Student-based learning Hands-on learning is right up my alley. This is where I learned that project-based learning could be extremely beneficial in helping to educate my students. PBLs focus directly on constructivist traits. I would love to have my students engaged by bringing them to locations to learn. The collaborative spirit and sharing of minds is something that's extremely close to my heart. This is also a must for my personal learning theory. And I must say, just being around my fellow colleagues in my classes this semester has been a great benefit to my learning. I would use constructive strategies in my classroom by having my students work on real-world problems. Once again, doubling down on politics, using what we have to help to improve our current situations. How can we make that happen? Those are questions that I would pose to my students, and when constructivist learning, being that it's student-based, I want to know what affects them as well. What are some of the problematic situations in their lives that we could help to fix, and how will we help fix those things? That way, students can see learning in action, and they can understand how education can help them in terms of critical thinking and solving real-world problems. Having debates and using critical thinking on things that my students want to discuss. We could even do things like participate in role-play simulations and other virtual reality setups. If students are given the room to create and to collaborate using these constructivism strategies, I feel like it will definitely spark other areas of learning. For example, the Arduino app control robot assignment that we give our incoming students during orientation. It opens up a whole nother world of learning as our kids are in groups working hands-on trying to make this robot work. They're able to ask questions. They're able to use the critical thinking. They're able to tap into their creative zone. And it leads to some great results within our classroom. Another theory that we learned this semester is connectivism. And connectivism surrounds our whole entire world right now. The spirit of connectedness through applications such as Zoom has kept our program alive. It is still giving us a way to teach our students. It's still giving us a platform for us to listen to our students. And it has not been the easiest situation teaching online, but we've had success. There also has been some serious issues regarding digital divide based upon economic status or even where you live. So whether you're in a rural area or you're in an urban environment, there has been some difficulties closing that digital divide. So whereas computers and other softwares were looked at as luxuries before, I think moving forward beyond the pandemic, they need to be looked at as necessities. We need to find ways to close the digital gap so that all of our students, regardless of income or where they are from, will be able to participate in a world that's going to be dependent upon digital knowledge. And it's not just enough just to have the actual equipment. We also need know-how. So that can come through the usage of MOOCs, which is a key component in connectivism. To be able to log on to free online courses in order to be able to learn. That's a beautiful thing. YouTube is also a big component of connectivism. There are do-it-yourself videos. There are videos that address history, language, mathematics, science, and a plethora of other things. So, as I said, connectivism is probably the learning theory that I'm closest to, strictly because that's all we've had, is this online platform to keep us alive, well, and to keep us productive in working with our students. Productivity is a huge thing. So through those online applications, we've been able to keep our doors open virtually. One of the things that I've heard from incoming students is that people don't care. Whether it be the teachers, whether it be their family members, they don't care. Oftentimes, adults look at teenage problems as being very frivolous or not important. But we have to remember what we were like when we were growing up. And what might seem frivolous to us now was a priority and so important to us then. So I think putting those things into perspective when we're dealing with our students, what it's like to be bullied, what it's like to go through a heartbreak, let's multiply that by 10, especially with the addition of social media. The bottom line is when you exhibit the care, the concern, and the connectivity to the students, not only does that translate to them, but it also translates back to you, where your students will have care and concern when connecting with you. And that's a beautiful thing, to have your student ask you, are you all right? So I think as an instructor, before we even get down to looking at learning theories and looking at how we're going to approach our students, is to make sure that we have an open mind and an open heart to have care and concern. Once you build that care and concern with the student, that connection will last a lifetime. I still have students from years ago that will email me or try to find me on social media, not because I'm the smartest teacher they ever had, but because I exhibited that care and concern. They knew that beyond the 3 o'clock bell ring, that I was concerned for their well-being. That is my learning theory. Thank you so much for listening. This class has done wonders for me as an instructor. Take care and be blessed.